Why is that button not working? I think we're live. This is weird. Oh, shoot. We're live. And this thing is fantastic. That's the great thing about going live when the button isn't showing that you're live. Okay. Anyway, 40-hour art check apparently is now live. And this is round 25, meaning that our podcast can now rent a car.
Yep. All right, I think it's kind of perfect our podcast can rent a car because you have a big trip coming up.
And I'll be renting a car.
There we go. There we go.
Tomorrow. So
it's very exciting. All right, well, should we jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to start?
Right. Sure.
Okay, what did you get done in the last couple days?
Yeah, I guess it's really only been like a day.
Oh, right, because we did this on Saturday.
Yeah. So I got this third panel roughly penciled, which is not a ton of work, but that's pretty much all I could get done. Today, my goal is to finish the page, but the rough pencil stage is like I said, not the most impressive amount of work, but I still got in my time on my comics, and my goal is to always put in a minimum of like 30 minutes, and this was a little over that. So
yeah, well, I think that's one of those things where if you're meeting 3 times a week, you have a full-time job and family and pet crisis and all that stuff, like sometimes when you have still done stuff, it's still okay to be like, I did it. It's just not, because I think we're both coming off of, at least for me, we're both coming off of an exceptionally productive and tiring week and a half.
Yes.
And so now like a normal amount of work, which is still an impressive amount of work because it's like extra, feels like we're not accomplishing as much.
Yeah, because I'm like, I didn't get that done in like 25 illustrations. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely that. Definitely. What also comes to it is interesting because the dog has been really occupying a lot of time. I guess I should get it. I'll get into that when we get into struggles. But yeah.
Okay, so I'll reset the timer here and turn this on. I'm going to switch over. I wanted to show everybody. This is the page that I finished on Saturday. Saturday at, I guess technically Sunday morning at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., because I wanted to finish it on Saturday. And so since I didn't go to bed yet, it's still Saturday. So I still finish it. But this is that page. And this represents the 40th out of 40 pages of this entire book. And so I'm pretty excited. I don't seem like it because I'm really tired. I still have to fill in the blacks. Like you can see, like there's like some digital blacks that I've got to fill in on some of these. But this is just, I can't even imagine how many hours I put in. But I looked, and I've been working on this a lot longer than I thought I was. Because I thought I had started this near the beginning of the year. But in fact, I hadn't started it near the beginning either. It was actually about 9 months ago. And so this is almost a year's worth of work, which is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, I did a sticker stamp, and there's times where I was working on other things, and so it's not technically like 9 solid months of work, but I did start this book 9 months ago. And ironically, I took on a children's book because I thought that animated short is going to take me 5 years, and I need to knock something out fast. And so I decided to do a children's book. And now every time I'm talking about it, all the moms that I know, they're like, isn't 40 pages a lot for a children's book? And I'm like, yes, I know. I had story creep. So anyway, but yeah, I'm pretty excited and a little loopy and tired. So.
Yeah, no, that's a huge accomplishment. And I mean, it's gonna look great when it's got the blacks filled and stuff. It's like I love how it reflects like the intro spread too. It's really
Yeah.
nice. There's a really good variety of like different views and um, different kind of uses of like foreground, middle ground, and background. Just looks really good. Like
Thanks.
I'm excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited for you. That's a huge thing.
I
Yeah,
tried. I tried to take it from a cinematic standpoint, and so my mentor that I was working with is actually comes from film, comes from animation, and has worked on stuff that's like recognizable. And so he and I both kind of thought about it in the same way. And so it is interesting. Like if you were to flip through it, you would see like camera moves from page to page and stuff. And so yeah, I hope some of that comes through. I hope like people at least feel it, if not like recognize. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of it's cool. This is like the first major project I've ever finished. Like that's you know like a book. I mean I finished projects obviously before, but for my own like personal projects, I've only been drawing since like 2012, and then I got
yeah,
a master's in between that, so that like was like a year and a half. That was kind of down the drain from a project standpoint, and before that I was like learning, and so this is like
yeah.
the first major milestone as far as like drawing and illustration goes. So
That's rad. That's huge.
yeah,
That's huge. That's cool too. And like the weird thing, and I think hopefully the thing that'll be encouraging to anybody who's like starting out or like feels like stuck in a rut in art, it's like the fact that like when I look at your art, I definitely don't see like I would think you had drawn for a very long time. I wouldn't have a clue that it was so recent. So it's really impressive,
thanks.
regardless. So yeah, really nice
Yeah,
work. Man.
I mean I think it's a little unfair to say like that I didn't come in with anything, and I hesitate to say that I've only been drawing since 2012 because sometimes I feel like that gives people who might be starting out like a false sense of it, because I came into it already knowing videography, film,
Yeah,
photography, and graphic design fairly heavily with like 10 to 15 years of experience prior to starting to draw, and so all of that informs that. And I think there's kind of some accelerated stuff, and I still got light years to go before I consider
no,
myself good. But yeah,
it's huge though to nail the drawing thing down because my joke with illustration majors when I used to teach them was the fact that I would always say we're better than graphic designers because we do graphic design and we can draw.
right.
Now, don't get me wrong, there are some illustrators really bad at graphic design, but in general, like the same aesthetics that go into design go into composing a really good picture or good drawing. And so if you've got that double threat, like your value in the workplace is so much greater. And from an art director standpoint, it's way better because it's like my favorite team members are the people I can pretty much throw anything at and they'll tackle it.
Right.
And in the context of what we do, it's like I have a couple of people who do design, I have a couple of people who are more heavy on the illustration, and then the switch hitters are like, it's just like the biggest relief as an art director to have them because you can be like, just get this thing done, and they're like, okay, and they got the full skill set.
Right.
So that's massive, man. That's really cool. But you're right, like the fundamentals don't change regardless. So if you get those basics of design, then it's going to give you a leg up when you tackle drawing. But still, I've seen a lot of designers try to tackle that drawing, and when I see yours, it's like it doesn't look like you were unseriously tackling it. It looks like you were trying to catch up for a lot.
Yeah.
Because you've really progressed. So
you're looking at it. You're not seeing the early stuff. If you could find my comic online, which I've tried to destroy, you would see me learning to draw. It's pretty rough.
yeah.
So I mean, not to diminish anything, but I do want to accurately represent like, and a lot of people that are watching this are working just as hard, if not harder.
Yeah.
But this represents like upwards of like 12 to 20 hours a week for 4 years. So it's I packed in a significant amount of work,
Yeah,
and will
for sure.
continue to do so. And so, yeah. Anyway,
I love it.
So,
Um,
how about
Ox was asking if you have a timeline for the finished book.
um, not exactly. I'd like to get a couple nights sleep first. But that's a good question. I do have a table at Salt Lake Comic Con, which every time I say that out loud, it freaks me out because drawing in front of people is terrifying. And anyway, just like face to face interaction and perceived judgment mixed with all that imposter syndrome stuff. But that is going to be in September or August or something. And so I want to have it printed by then. I would like to kickstart the printing prior to that, I think. But at the very least, I'm gonna get the writing. I've written several drafts. I need to write it, and then I don't like any of those drafts yet. So I'm gonna take another stab at it and really focus on the writing probably over the next month, and really nail that down, and then. And then I'm going to try to decide after I get the writing done whether I'm going to color it or not. So, but definitely by like September, August, I'll have printed copies or something, or a very hopeful Kickstarter campaign in the works. I don't know, something along those lines. But
I love it.
So
that's great. Yeah, I think Ox just said yes. So that's good. Cool. All right, so should we get into challenges?
Yeah. What challenges have you had over the weekend, or I guess just mainly half of Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, I mean the biggest challenges are dog. Like I mentioned this before, I want to mention it again because I mean a lot. Like so many people have contributed to our GoFundMe, and it's cool, and they keep contributing, and it's really awesome because it's going to help us out a lot. Bernie's doing well. He's like eating, which is huge.
Cool. And
that was kind of the primary concern. We had to check in with the vet today, and that was their main concern: is like, is he eating? If he's eating and he's resting, he's going to do okay. Because we're mixing like antibiotics in his food, which is really tough to do with a dog that can't like wolf it down because he's really smelling it. Dogs have a really crazy sense of smell anyway, so he can smell the antibiotics. So we have to keep doing tricks like, and all he can eat right now is like baby food, which is what the vet wants us to give him.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'll do this trick where I kind of give him like one without the antibiotics or the painkillers, and then I give him one with it. And like once he's gotten into it, and he's like salivating and stuff. It's like, okay, there we go. But so that's been super time consuming, and it's a lot of work because we're also, we got a kid, so it's like trying to make sure we're spending time with our kid, but also taking care of our dog, and then and he needs a lot of care, and also he's really like wanting to be normal quickly, and so he keeps having these moments of like wanting to like jump or do stuff, and it's like we can't let him kind of do that. He's not supposed to be active. So but it's encouraging to see him kind of like really bring out his personality, and like when I get home he's like wagging his tail and he's all excited, and it's kind of cool to see after considering like literally like less than a week ago we thought he was dead. So it's a huge thing, but it's been a real challenge. You keep reducing in size.
I'm mirroring my phone, and every time I get a notification, it changes the size. So I thought I turned notifications off, but I
should just start texting you just to mess with you. Just be like, "Hey, Cory, oh, you're small again." So the biggest challenge is just trying to find time, but like I'm trying to be aware of the fact that even like that challenge gone, there's going to be other challenges. And I'm reminded of like one of the times we had this, and I was like going to Disneyland, and you pointed out, you were like, well, that is a challenge too, to be like doing fun stuff and still try to get work done. And it's totally true. It really kind of doesn't matter if you're doing creative endeavors, it's hard to make time. So I'm stoked I actually made time, but I want to get a little further. And then I feel like I overcame the challenge of like kind of resistance on the workout thing, so I'm kind of right back on track with that, and that's awesome. And I'm also starting to notice, and this is something hardly anyone would notice, especially people who didn't know me for very long, like I've always been like a twig of a guy, and I'm actually starting to like see a little bit of muscle, not like a lot, but a little bit, and it's actually really kind of starting to show a little more. And so that's kind of exciting too, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to kind of look a little better. Like
That's
that's
cool.
kind of rad too. That's like a byproduct I wasn't really. I know it's weird, but like most people when they're working out would be thinking about that. That was like a byproduct I didn't really think about. I was just more like, I need energy and I want my back to stop hurting when I get home from work, you know?
Right.
Um, and so that's like, but that's been a challenge to like, to overcome the resistance and try to kind of, and I know that's going to be a continual one, you know, because it's like pretty much, yeah, it's just kind of a continual battle, especially on the drive home where I'm like, when I get home, I'm just going to go sit down, watch TV, you know, just I worked hard, all the excuses, you know.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense because that's a really nefarious one. I don't know if you have that. Anyhow, I'm going way too.
Like you earned it.
Yeah, where you're like,
I
I
earned
worked
this.
hard. Yeah, I earned this, and it's like I'm trying to fight that a little bit. There's some truth to it though, because it's like, dude, we hauled rear end and you know in under like 62 hours created 30 seconds of animation, and like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that we did that, like, I do feel really good about that too. So that's giving me a little bit of a boost. But yeah, it's hard to find that energy right now after that crazy hecticness. How about you? How are you doing? You took on a crazy challenge. I mean, I can't believe you got that page done. I'm kind of I'm blown away.
That page took a lot longer than I thought it would. But I got it done before I went to bed on Saturday. It just happened to be like 4:30 in the morning. And that was after going to bed Friday night, I think was around 3, and Thursday was around 4. So it was like 3 nights in a row where it was after 3 a.m.
Whew.
And even though I got to sleep in on Saturday and on Sunday, I am still so tired. So as I say that, I'm getting almost to prove my point, and I'm in that foggy stage. And then on top of that, one of the main challenges that I'm dealing with is that we are flying out tomorrow, and our adopted, soon to be adopted son is scheduled for C-section on Wednesday, in 2 days from now. And I'm just still amazed at the amount of stuff that I didn't think about that I'm having to do. So I'm writing lesson plans for my colleagues to cover my classes. I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and then just all the normal end of the semester stuff. I'm trying to get it done now. And so all that's happening. And I think I'm not functioning 100% mentally, just because if you get to the point where you're just so tired, you're just less effective at everything. And so like things that normally take me half an hour are taking me 45 minutes, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you do that all day, it adds hours to the day rather than it's just taking me a couple minutes longer. And I'm not talking about hard things. I'm talking about like making lunch. You know, like I'm like, why? What am I doing? Why am I in this part of the kitchen? And then you sit there for 10 seconds.
Sometimes, like after you haven't had sleep, like the simplest tasks actually are the ones you keep like having to redo, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I think they've done like, excuse me. I think they've done like studies on it, and like I keep hearing this phrase like like sleep isn't like a bank where you like kind of like make withdrawals and then you suddenly can deposit it back. Mm-hmm. It's like once you've made the withdrawals, like you can deposit as much as you want, but those withdrawals still have an effect. Yeah. And so it's like that's one of, I'm sure anybody watching this who's creative will relate to that, because that's one of our burdens is like how do you balance that? Like how much sleep do you really need?
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to make that sacrifice. And so
yeah.
I'm super proud that we were able to get done that animation, because it was huge. And I had planned on it being 17 seconds, and it turned out to be 30 seconds. And I think it was for the best that it did, but that was a significant amount of work. And then I've been shooting for Friday, actually, or Saturday to be the end of this book from the inking standpoint, and I met that, not technically, but I hit it, before I went to bed, and so those are two huge things, and so it's kind of worth being a little groggy and tired and whatever, and I'll be awake at some point in the future.
Yeah, Ox asked, do you reckon that you'll be aiming for a long sleep or a short coma now that the book is inked?
I'm about to have an infant, and so I don't think either of those are an option.
True. Yeah.
so it's one of those things where everybody keeps telling me, "Hey, get some sleep now," and like I've got a daughter, but and I'm like, I can't. I've got projects to finish before this, and so I think I'm just like pre-sleep deprived. So that I'm kind of easing into it that way rather than going into it fresh.
Well, that's a way to look at it. Yeah, it's like prep work, right?
Right, exactly.
And I'm already used to it. In the pool before you jump into the deep end. Yeah, that's crazy. That's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to hear how that goes. Yeah. That's a massive. That's like a life-changing thing. And then the book thing, that's a huge milestone. So it's like you're hitting all these big milestones, like. Within a span of a week, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really feel like you've mentioned this a couple times, but I feel like this year things are really starting to come together in a lot of ways that I didn't even anticipate. I didn't expect to table at a convention for years, or at all, and that's happening. And then the book thing is going to happen. And I'm going to try to get it published. I'm not content with just self-publishing this. I'd like it to be in Walmart. I want hundreds of thousands of copies out there, and I'll settle for tens of thousands. But yeah, I'm gonna push hard. I think I'm gonna set one of those goals where I reward myself for every 10 rejections I get from a publisher, and the goals keep getting bigger and bigger. Because I like that a lot, and I really am just gonna pound the pavement on this thing while I'm starting another project.
When you start approaching that, let me know. But definitely hit up writers reps.
Yeah.
Like for children's books, there's like two different roads you could go down. You could go with an art rep, but they aren't going to get you like your book published, right, to the extent that a writer's rep would. So a writer's rep, that's the first rejection letters I collect.
Yeah.
Aim for legit ones. So, but I bet if you go down that road, they'll have better luck getting through the middleman.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, and I think that's a little bit down the road. I am going to do a little bit of groundwork research and see whether a Kickstarter project is shooting myself in the foot or not. And
it's good you've got like kind of a long view of some potential goals for your book, because that's going to keep you like with motivation when you're doing cleanup and color. If you're not doing color, whatever way, when you're doing all the production work and stuff, keep that end goal in mind, because that'll keep you juiced.
Yeah. If I'm not doing colors, my production work is going to be really minimal. It'll be. Oh, yeah. I'll be done soon.
You're like fill, boom, done.
Right, exactly.
I love it. All right, so plans.
Yeah. So what are your plans before Wednesday?
My plan is to finish the rough pencils. So I should finish those tonight, and then probably have the tight pencils for at least panel 1. So that's where I'd like to be. If I can beat that, great. I also plan on getting much more progress through the Stormborn series, because it's so good. I burnt through the first book, and you recommended that to me on here, and so I thought I'd just vouch for it. It's really good.
Dude, I will tell you.
It's kind of crazy at first. Like for me, like the first chapter, I was like, I'm not even following this. Like, what the heck is going on? And then it just kind of all starts colliding into this story that's so unique and great, and like all these little things that are kind of building and then end up being later threads that get kind of tied up. I'm excited. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to recommend that book, because in trying to describe it in any way, shape, or form, you sound like the most neckbeard lunatic geek nerd guy.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
oh totally. I had hair
like
start
real
growing on my neck.
nerds. Real nerds
Yeah.
would be like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I actually started growing a neck beard when I was like texting you. I keep throughout the book. I've been like texting Cory like, "This is so awesome. The shard bearers are doing this."
It's such a good book, but you try to describe it to anyone, and they're like, you just get kind of that side eye, like, "Oh, I didn't know you were one of those guys."
Yeah, yeah.
Dude.
It definitely starts sounding like a very intense campaign of role playing where you're just like,
it's so good.
It's so good though.
And then it starts. So let me give anybody who's going to try this book. It's called The Stormlight Archives. It's by Brandon Sanderson. He's the one who did Mistborn. He finished The Wheel of Time. Anyway, if you know him, you know him. If you don't, you don't. But all of these books are kind of like in the same universe, but they happen on different planets. And his writing style is such that there are things that are going on. Oh shoot, stupid thing. In the book that we've disappeared. Wait, is that it? Okay, this is what happens when you run on no sleep. We're back. We're back.
No worries.
I should not be live switching a show right now. Anyway, he intentionally writes these scenes that you have no context and they make no sense. And then sometimes it's like 1,000 pages later that you're like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
And then other times it's several books. Like you're like 3 or 4 books. And these are not short books. They're like 60 hours in an audiobook. And so it's like 100 hours into this like series. You think back and you're like, oh. And it's this mind-blowing thing that he's able to like architect all of these threads. It's crazy. And the character building is phenomenal too.
Oh, I love, like, I even had a big aha moment at the end of the first book when it kind of lists all the different properties. I was like, oh, like, it was kind of like seeing the maps for Lord of the Rings when you first read it, where you're just, it's super, like, wonderfully nerdy stuff. But it's like, it's so well done. And being a person, like, I was really obsessed with science fiction as a kid. Like, my friend Kevin and I, like, one of the things we bonded on was like talking about Xanth and Piers Anthony and like how obsessed we were with those books in like junior high. And so it's like I've read McCaffrey and like I've read tons of like fantasy books and was really a big fan. So it's like it's really neat to kind of discover some new fantasy that feels fresh. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like sort of Shannara kind of like, which I hope, I don't want to insult anybody who's a fan of that, but it's so close to Lord of the Rings, and it's just like, it's uncomfortable for me to read it. And it's nice to read something that like this, it's just its own thing, and it's its own voice. It definitely pulls on a lot of fantasy tropes, but it does it in a really unique way. I really like it. So. And it's exciting, and it's got really good payoffs too, where you're just like moments where you're reading and you're like, yes, like
because
so which
there are some dudes that you really hate in there, and there are some dudes that you really like, and sometimes they switch, and you're like, oh man, it's crazy, it's good, it's well done.
All right, let's get into your plans.
Okay, is that what we're talking about? So my plans. Tomorrow will be traveling 1,000 miles plus into Scott Circlin's neck of the woods, and my plan is to try to do something at some point before Wednesday. Given that Wednesday morning, the cesarean is scheduled for 5 a.m., and we will be in a hospital and going through paperwork, and I have zero idea what to expect. So I have been talking about doing I'll be mobile again, but mobile plus a plane ride, which means that I have very limited space, whereas the last time I was mobile, I was able to take, stuff and just throw it in my van, so I could have like big giant drawing boards with me. And I think I will be mainly limited to my iPad, and so I might do
So
another.
this time you won't run risk of being mistaken for an FBI agent again, right?
Right, exactly. A weird tube strapped to my back that's actually full of paper and not a bazooka.
A van full of like weird electronic equipment.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do a sticker stint. I'm not sure if I'm going to. I think I would like to like see if I could draw like 20 faces every day for the duration of the time I'm there. I'd really like to get better at faces. So I'll be doing something I literally don't know what it is or when or how much I'll be able to do, but something. So there's my vague, ethereal plan that I can't commit to.
I love it. That sounds good. So what's your plan for? So Wednesday we're probably gonna see you on the road, and we'll have to figure out how we're gonna do this thing. We might even do it through like, just hangouts or something if that works.
Yeah, I'll be broadcasting live with a several-hour-old infant.
That's
from
crazy.
a hospital room, so you guys will get to meet my son the same day I meet him. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's really cool. And well, like once again, also obviously I will work around your guys' schedule because it's an infant. So like if you guys get a window of time where you can get like 15 minutes of sleep, like take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so exciting, man. That's gonna be cool. I can't wait to see him. All right,
it's gonna be great.
We should wrap it because you're exhausted and I am exhausted as well, and we have work to do.
Okay, so we will see you guys. Where's my button? There's my button. We'll see you guys on Wednesday, and if you want to check out Josh's stuff, you can go. See, when I turn on the credits, I can still see Josh. You guys can't see Josh anymore, and right now he's just laughing at me quietly. So you can see Josh's stuff at quarterlystories.com, and that is an autobiographical story about faith and mental illness, and it's really rad. It's a great book, and you can catch where he's at now, which is 60-something pages. My stuff is on CoryKerr.com, and I've got all kinds of things there, and you guys can wander around. And if you are interested in sticking around for another sticker stint and or something, I'll be doing a bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel, so subscribe, including I'm going to be doing a series of having people like Josh and Scott and others, some pretty exciting people that are yet to be named that have agreed, and I just got to work out details, talking about what you should do at a convention. And so I'm going to do kind of like a series of those videos. And then a special thanks to No Saboteurs for licensing the intro music, and you can check out their stuff at facebook.com/NoSaboteurs. That was probably longer than it needs to be, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Bye.